Hello and welcome back to REV Endurance Sports, and today we're going to do a post-service on this bike, and we're also going to do a mini rant on the rear brake caliper. But let's begin with why the customer came in the first place. The customer came in because she wanted 2 new tires installed, and she's someone who I've been working with years before COVID. So she's been with the shop probably at least 8 years or so. And I kind of know the typical pattern. She will bring me tires before, she will ask for tires to get replaced before she even gets to the wear indicators on her gator skins. So she's someone who just does not want to flat, and that's just the way it is. So we keep those customers on fresh tires, and in this case, the gator skin hard shell is in the back because it is a little bit more puncture resistant than the standard gator skin. And I've mentioned many times on this channel before that these are very, very, very slow tires. They have a lot of rolling resistance, and they also have very little grip. So if you're someone who wants performance out of your tires, this is not the tire for you. If you want durability and you want puncture protection, this is the tire for you. Okay? And then just a quick pro tip. The directional arrow on these tires is always very hard to read on the sidewalls. So just look at these 2 little dots and they go forward. Okay? Here's the rear tire, same thing. The 2 little dots, and I mean 2 as in there's a pair of them, 1 on each side. The little dots go forward. Okay? All right, so that is tire selection, tire direction, and that was one of the reasons the customer came in. The other reason was she had been hit by a car and the bar tape was torn, and you could see damage here, and then there was more damage underneath here, which I've covered up, and she wanted it, to not be visible anymore. So we rewrapped the bar tape on the base bar and also on the arrow extensions. All right. The other thing that she wanted was, well, my brake lever, it has too much play. Obviously now we've taken the play out, but she was like, oh, it's got too much play, and it was almost coming into the bar. So I looked at her brakes and I said, oh, okay. Well, what you have is a cable operated brake. So you have a cable-operated brake as opposed to a hydraulic disc brake, and this is a TRP Spire. Now, luckily, as far as brake pads go, they use the same brake pads as Shimano, right? So I use a Cool Stop to replace the pads, a Cool Stop 620 or KS 620, something like that. So I said, well, let me take a look at your brake pads. And the front brake was not worn. Well, that kind of makes sense. Most people don't use their front brake as much as they should. It is the most important brake to learn how to use properly, because it is where 70% of your stopping power comes from. But I was able to adjust this one because, well, here you got your pad adjustment, and you've got your cable anchor here, and you've got your barrel adjuster. So you've got all the stuff you need to adjust it all out in the open, right? There is there is the exact same fitting on the other side right there. So a 3mm Allen wrench, and you can adjust the pads how close to the rotor or how far from the rotor. So you're adjusting the piston with this bolt here. But now the rear is is a whole other kettle of fish. You do not have access to anything to adjust this rear brake. There is no space at all between the cable anchor and the frame, so I can barely fit my finger in there. You don't have access to the pad adjustment. This right here, you don't have access to that. And to remove the pads, to replace the pads, you have to take the entire brake caliper off. Down below there are 2 bolts. You remove those 2 bolts, take the brake caliper out so that you have access to remove the pad retaining bolt. You have access to the cotter key, but that doesn't help you much. You have to get this pad retention bolt out. All right, once you've replaced the pads, you go to mount the caliper back on, but you have to adjust the caliper. And anyone who rides disc brakes knows that once you've got the caliper in the perfect place, you don't ever want to move it. All you want to do from that point on is replace pads back and forth, push the pistons in, put new pads in, and you generally should be okay, right? Brake calipers over the years have slowly been given more and more gap so that you have more tolerance for the rotor, and also you have more of a gap when it comes time for the rotor as it heats up and it starts hitting the pads back and forth. They've allowed more and more gap, I believe, I don't know, another 10% or something like that, especially on the Shimano ones. All right, but this is cable, so that's not going to do that. You don't have a hydraulic system that keeps looking for the pad and then keeps adjusting itself and all that. So, in other words, now that we've got the new pads in, this is always going to need adjustment. And really the only way to get this, I mean, you just have to guess where you put the anchor, and then work with the adjustment. But the left side, so the non-drive side, it's really hard to see from here, is going to have too much of a gap, and it's only going to press from one side. But this is the best you can do. It is really, really poor. Now, it's the bike spec, so who knows how and who chose the bike spec. Maybe the customer just wanted non-hydraulic. Like, don't give me anything electronic and don't give me anything hydraulic on this bike, because this is also a mechanically shifted bike. Maybe that was the case. But this is a very good application now for a hydraulic caliper, because if you have a hydraulic caliper, it can remain in place. Well, no, you still have to take the caliper off, because you have to remove the pad retaining bolt. But I guess once you put the hydraulic brake back in place, you're not worried about cable tension and pad clearance. You just push the pistons back in and let the hydraulic system self-center, I guess. This is just a very poor design to have this massive aerodynamic part of this frame covering that rear brake. I hope that's in focus. I can't see the viewfinder. All right, well, that was one thing that was really silly. Then the other thing is, they have this top cap here. And this top cap is, let me see if I can get that to focus. This top cap here, this is like your typical bearing top cap. So you got to give this preload from a bolt that's buried inside here. And can't get that to focus, but there's a bolt buried inside here. You got this hoses and you got stuff in the way. All right, there it is. And then these would be like traditional steer bolts. So you have to loosen these up and then, grab the brake, rock the bike back and forth and tighten up this bolt. So that gives you a preload this way, and then you secure it by tightening those two there. And then this aerodynamic stem with the hoses and the cables coming through here. I mean, it's just so much over engineering. I don't understand why everything has to be so complicated here. Why not just have a regular stem? You could just have a regular stem here holding this bass bar, and that's it. I don't understand why you need all of this. So all of this, so if you ever want to adjust the angle of your bass bar, you have to loosen up these 4 bolts and then adjust the angle of your aero bar, bass bar, right? So you adjust the angle of your bass bar, which will then adjust the angle of your aero bars. Now, for a long time, the praying mantis position was illegal, and now I guess it's allowed. And so I'm going to do this in this mirror here. Hopefully you can see me, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to close the gap between your head, your chest, and your arms. So having, let's see if you can see that, having your position like this, where you can tuck your head inside your arms. So that would be a benefit here to rotate these up and become more aero. But this customer is not about that. She wants a tri-bike, but she's her niche or her strength is she's a marathoner. She races all around the world. I don't know. She's probably got 100 marathons in her personal achievement file. So that's her big thing, and that's cool. But this bike. Oh, and then there's also folks that always ask me about the weight of a tri-bike. This one is just a tad over 24 pounds. So that's 11 kilograms. And I think we covered everything. Yeah, because the last thing that I was talking about, this plate, was that it had shifted because there was not enough preload here. But apparently that's a known issue, right? So you have to center it, and it's kind of like a wheel lock as well. So it can only turn a certain amount. Anyway, well, that's it. And that's plenty, isn't it? So anyway, that is your X-PR post-service video. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. I'd like to hear your comments on that rear brake, and tell me what your thoughts are, and your thoughts on gator skins and hard shells and all that stuff. All right, thanks for watching. It is Labor Day weekend coming up. Today is Friday, August the 29th. Please go out, have fun, ride your bikes, get to a good barbecue, and we'll see you up the road.